case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barreiro's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
All right, let's get to some top 5 stuff. Guardsy out today. Blakemore back in the chair.
Time now for the obligatory Kevin Fallness Minnesota Wild mention.
Well, they're not even playing tonight.
They're playing tomorrow.
Okay.
We've got new lines to talk about, and that I'm
how long
actually.
will that last?
A little bit.
About a minute?
Yeah, give or take. They get the Canucks at home. That's tomorrow at 7. You hold pregame starting at 6:45 and the game at 7 right here on the Fan. But you got new lines, according to Joe Smith. The top line doesn't change with Hartman, Kaprizov, Zuccarello. The second line gets reunited. Johansson gets pushed up again with Eriksson and Boldy. But then the third line, my guy, Danil Yurov, back in the lineup, centering Bobby Brink and Tarasenko. I agree.
So how do you feel about this juggling?
I'm okay with it right now. Right now, they have Nick Foligno off entirely, which is interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
The fourth line is McCarron, Moose, and Trenyon is your fourth line, and then Hughes and Faber back together as well.
Who are we playing tomorrow?
The Canucks.
The Canucks, you say. Okay.
So the return, if they're healthy, if they would have been healthy, of Rossi, Buyam,
good point.
Ogren. So I haven't been following the Canucks line combinations as closely as I once did.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're not a very good team that should be a W. So there's your Wild update, finally back in action tomorrow, and we're looking forward to it.
Well, I think I mentioned during the several times the last few days that you had this unusual off time this late in the season, which I think might be helpful to the Wild to take a long, hard look at themselves. And maybe you strip everything down a little bit. Maybe it gives you a chance to breathe in a way that we don't associate with the end of season, right? Where it feels like you're playing all the time and you're getting ready for in this case, the postseason. I'm hoping this time was used wisely to say, all right, we don't have to reinvent the wheel here, but we're not on a really encouraging path. Really haven't been since the the Olympic break. So therefore, let's use that time, whatever it is, whether it's line changes, whether it's, because Louis said yesterday, and I think this is an underrated part of this thing, but Louis agreed with me and said, look, we are obviously better offensively than we used to be, especially in the post-Quinnesota era, but he said, I think we're a little loose in our zone defensively. And that, to me, if you go through the best stretches of this season before Quinnesota got here, that, to me, was their bread and butter. They knew who they were, who they weren't. And I think you can say, well, we have more offense now. We can play a little looser. But I think you have to keep that within limits. And I think, to me, that's what we've seen play out the last few weeks. So, to me, time off should be an opportunity to reestablish who we are and the mode of play that gives us on a regular basis the best chance for success. Doesn't that make sense?
It does. I just
all you care about is scoring.
Offense. Yeah, that's how you win games. You score. A lot of times when we get eliminated the first round, they can't score.
That's true.
Quick Vancouver lines update.
Okay.
Your top left wing, Liam Ogren on the first line.
Oh, wow.
Second line center, Rossi.
Okay.
And your first left defenseman, Steve Buyam. So it could see all three.
It could be a big we didn't need him day tomorrow night.
Be.
Or it could go the other way.
I expect the first TV time out of the first period to be a very long, hand-waving, standing ovation day.
You think we'll take the high road?
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
I think so. So your Timberwolves, there is an injury update. This was an hour ago posted. McDaniel's out, but questionable is Anthony Edwards. We've played this game a bunch, you and me. Anthony Edwards listed as questionable, and then right before the game, he's available and he's going to play. He's still listed with the right knee. I'm not even going to try to say that, pain syndrome. But the Wolves, they get the Pistons tomorrow, 6 o'clock. You'll hear that on the Timberwolves channel, iHeartRadio app. So a very good team that they're playing in Detroit. Playing well. I should mention, I think it was yesterday, I'd given them credit for taking Oklahoma City into OT in Oklahoma City, I think the previous night. Fairness in I guess you could say, puffery, I believe OKC was sitting 4 starters. Now, OKC's got depth, but that's a bit of a mitigating circumstance, which tells me that has to be factored in
to that particular equation. But Detroit, still without Cade Cunningham, they've kind of gotten their equilibrium back after a brief stretch, actually before he even got hurt, where they looked like they were fading a bit. I thought they looked really good against the Wolves. And I love the way they guard, play defensively. They're a tough team. And again, the Wolves are in a position now where, really, to me, it looks like the only question is going to be whether we're going to be 5 or 6 because of the tiebreaker we don't have against, or we lose to Denver. And by the way, if we want to get the tiebreaker with Houston, we got to beat them when we play them again. I think it's this weekend, is it not? I think we play Houston again. So we'll have to see. But Detroit's good, and we're in a tough stretch, and we're still not 100% healthy as well. And we may just sort of have to live with whatever our positioning might be.
The Wolves will be in Houston April 10th.
Oh, okay, so it's
Friday.
a while off. Okay,
Yeah.
April 10th. That's even later in the season. By the way, the Artemis 2,
Yes.
the launch countdown is active. We're at 18 minutes and change.
What channel?
Until the launch countdown. It's certainly on CNN. But I should also add that that battery concern, officials are saying it is not of such a concern that it is should get in the way of the takeoff, the countdown, coming up, as I said, the launch taking place in another 18 minutes.
Are they going to orbit the moon or are they going to touch down?
They're going.
We're
back.
getting on there.
We're back.
Oh, I can't wait.
We are back, baby.
Speaking of leaving a place and going to another, familiar with Kevin Warren, who he is?
Yes,
he spoke.
very familiar.
He said, we're in an excellent position. I recently said the target is to make sure we have a decision. This is on the Bears' new stadium. By springtime here soon, late spring, early summer would be that target. Of course, the choice is to stay in Illinois and go to Arlington Heights.
Yeah.
Or you can go right across the border, which is still like 23 minutes from downtown Chicago, to Hammond, Indiana. Probably get those cheaper taxes and more help from the state if you go across the border. So it is the Chicago Bears or the Gary Berries. Your thoughts?
It was an interesting series of I think this was Kevin Warren speaking at the owners' meetings.
Correct.
And I actually thought they were going to have to make a decision quicker, but I think what we're finding out, what they're clearly playing out, this now strikes me as we know what Indiana's best offer is and we like it. We're going to give Illinois one last chance to get in the ballpark of it, and we're willing to wait that out because I think deep down, they may not admit this, they'd still rather stay in Illinois.
Yeah.
I think they aren't bluffing when they say they are prepared to go to Indiana for the reason you just laid out. I don't think it's going to be as big an issue as it feels at the moment if it were to happen. But I'm sure they're saying, well, let's see. Let's play this out and see. Because, they own a bunch of land in Arlington Heights. That's that they bought. They started buying it up. The old Arlington racetrack section, a bit of land, I think about 5 or 6 years ago. So I think that's still probably their first choice, but they got to have enough of an offer, and there's still there's some bills kind of hung up in the Illinois Assembly, House, whatever it is, that needs to be really kind of sort of ironed out. How far is Illinois willing to go? So it's going to get resolved eventually, and it will be an interesting move for sure, one way or the other. And remember, if you're Kevin Warren, this is really what you were hired to do. And you got to get, you have to get it done to the satisfaction, obviously, of the family that you're working for, the McCaskey family, Hallis family, etc. So we'll see where it goes.
I'm not an elite Chicago geography mind, but is that similar to like a Arden Hills situation for us, where it'd be pretty far out? At least I know the Hammond one. I've looked at that on the map, but I haven't actually done the Arlington Heights.
Arlington Heights is basically northwest suburbs, so it's in the heart of the suburbs. It's actually a little further than Hammond to downtown, but it's in the same ballpark. It's just in another direction.
Maple Grove,
but it's a major. Yeah, you could say that. It's a major. The suburbs around there. I went to high school in Elk Grove Village, which is basically 1.5 suburbs off of Arlington Heights. It's a high population area, high density area as well. And look, in my perfect world, they never leave the lakefront. I associate the Bears with the lakefront, but I think that ship has pretty much sailed. I don't think there's much way around it. And frankly, the city has done such a bad job of maintaining that structure. The field issues have been legendary in that regard. So I still like to think of the Bears as the city of Chicago's team, but I think that's over. I think now I don't think there's another Illinois spot, but in terms of location, people there's a massive population in the northwest suburbs that would probably prefer that, certainly, because they're certainly further away from Hammond, Indiana. Now, there are southern suburbs, not quite always as rich, posh, and Tony on the east side and the south side, but a lot of the rich Tony ones are north and northwest.
And that's been the move lately, has just been, instead of doing the suburbs and having a giant parking lot around, which doesn't look great, it's in the suburbs, but you build a whole city around your stadium that you own everything, and then you can make a bunch of money. You can thank my Braves for that, and I love it. Finally, Tiger Woods' latest update. Earlier today, a judge in Florida granted him to travel outside the U.S. in order to enter basically a treatment facility. He's pleading not guilty to the misdemeanor charges. There was a non-guilty plea. So Tiger, he's stepping away, did the statement a couple days ago that I'm stepping away from golf and trying to get treatment. Ultimately, I think that's as good of a result as you can ask for in a terrible, terrible situation of no one got hurt and he's going into treatment and hopefully gets better. But he's going to be outside the U.S., so it's probably going to be pretty cushy. He is saying the right stuff. Yes.
The issue is going to be whether he does the right stuff. And what the judge, I think, accepted his attorney's view of, whatever he's going to do, this is going to be intense. He's going to be in the middle of significant treatment for a significant amount of time, and we want privacy, and it's easier to get that privacy outside the United States of America. I don't know if that's true. I guess it might be, although if you're Tiger Woods, I don't know if there is such a thing as privacy. But the statement, which I think broke last night a little bit maybe after we were done or even as we were wrapping up, is what you want to hear, which is an acknowledgement of a situation and saying what, frankly, a lot of golf people need to understand at this point. Forget thinking and wondering about Tiger and is there any magic left in him or I love him back in the Masters or whatever. Yeah, exactly. It's that part of it's got to be over, because part of what that's done is I think that ongoing desire and interest has actually made it easier for him to put off what clearly is fundamentally his life and getting that in order and stop playing that particular game. We know why people want to play, because he's Tiger. He's legendary. But, he's saying the right stuff. The statement is solid and sound. But in the end, he's made statements like that before. The proof will be in the pudding, as the late, great Denny Green once said. It's going to be about if he's able to go through the treatment that he obviously needs, what he's able to do with it, and that somebody's finally going to convince him that no matter where he is on all of this stuff, he's never going to drive again. Because he just shouldn't. That's where I don't have a lot of tolerance. The addiction is the addiction. That stuff's real, and people deal with it every day and should not be minimized. But I like to think that when you put yourself in position where you're not the only one being hurt by what you're doing, but then, the addiction or getting in a vehicle where you're impaired might affect your ability to drive your vehicle, then you're putting a lot of other people in harm's way before. That much is 100% true. All right, I got some text to get to, and then we got Kessler. Two quick corrections. You asked me about this launch. The project, the new historic moon mission, will include a landing on the moon. This flight apparently is going around the moon, but it's the precursor for what is the effort to get back on the moon for the first time in a long time. Yeah, maybe it's a scouting trip. I don't exactly know how you want to call it. And also, the chief reminds us that the Pistons sat 4 players, 4 starters in that game, 2 against Oklahoma City. So we're at the time of year where you almost need to know a lot of the details to even fully interpret victory, moral loss, etc. All those things might indeed be true. We'll get to a couple of texts and then prepare for Kessler at the bottom of the hour.
And
looks like the countdown for the Artemis 2 launch, the mission, the so-called mission to the moon, is stuck at the 10-minute mark. And I'm looking at a CNN headline that reads, final go, no-go poll ahead of liftoff is taking place right now. I mentioned there'd been discussion earlier about some concern about a battery. I don't have a lot of detail on that, but earlier it was viewed as not something that was going to get in the way of the launch going off on time. So there's a little bit of a delay here. We'll keep you posted on that. I'm sure Kessler will have the very latest on it as well. Go look at the Houston schedule, and they could easily run the table and get to 5 or 4. You know, I probably am underestimating Houston because everybody looks at them as the most vulnerable team, but their schedule is more inviting, and they actually have been playing a little bit better lately. So at this point, all we really know is the Wolves are not going to go as high as 3. I think it's unlikely they go as high as even 4. They're pretty much, I think, going to be stuck with 5 or 6, which, again, it doesn't have to be the end of the world. But I think that's pretty much where they're at, especially when you factor in their schedule as well. Let me get to a couple of other texts. This is Pete from Pequot. Hi, Dan. The Twin season has started. Really? I was listening to a Tom Bernard podcast, and he mentioned how the Twins are so important to him, but when they suck, they suck. Evidently, the local sports people could not or would not say that. I think you just agreed with Tom. Love Tom Bernard, legend, radio legend, but I will tell you that it's not exactly discovering electricity to suggest the Twins are terrible. And no, there have been any number of people, some of us at this station and elsewhere, who have repeated that early and often. That's really not anything outside of the ordinary in most media circles. They may not use the language quite as colorfully in that regard, but we have been talking about the dysfunction of this franchise and this organization for really quite some time. That's not exactly new. Wild hockey, can the Wild make it past the first round? That's out of nowhere. Yes. Can they? Yes, they can make it out of the first round. Will they? Well, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens the rest of the season. We'll have to see how healthy they are. We'll have to see. There's a number of variables. And I think you just feel like you wait until you get a little closer to it before you take whatever position you are on or want to regarding this particular issue. I had one other text that I wanted to Dan, you say that Tiger should never drive again, yet you have advertisements on how to get your license back or DUI. That feels a little hypocritical, don't you think? Big Pasta. No, 763 or Big Pasta guy, I don't think it's hypocritical at all. The truth of the matter is, Tiger Woods has, unlike most human beings, the means and the resources to literally never drive again. Ever. And if you have those means and resources, then to me, that's what people have been clamoring for in his case for quite some time. But not everybody has that particular option. And we've now, in the case of Tiger Woods, we've had a number of mishaps to that extent. So no, I don't think there's anything hypocritical. And to a certain extent, you could say, or I would say, I'm saying it more to make a point than to be literal about it. Anybody who goes through the steps to clean themselves up and even use the process like Smart Start to put themselves in a position where they can get back on the road legally and safely on the basis of the equipment they have to use to do so should have absolutely that opportunity. And if you want me to say Tiger should too, yeah. My point is, if you're Tiger Woods and you have the profile that you have and you have the means to whatever demons you're battling, some of them very real, obviously, when it comes to pain and pain issues and perhaps abuse of some of the pills that he's taking, that why not take full advantage of that so that you at least, once again, don't put other people in harm's way as well. What's next? What else do we have to? Yeah, here's another a text about the. Now it looks like the headline I'm getting from CNN is that NASA has given the final go for the Artemis 2 launch. Although I see that the countdown is still frozen, and it looks to me at 10 minutes. So I'm sure Kessler is going to be able to give us the very latest on this. We might be able even to give you some live viewing of exactly what is taking place, and he can give us a better idea of not just what this launch is about, but what this launch is ushering in, allegedly kind of a new phase in our space program as well. So we'll definitely pay attention to that with Kessler. He's got a lot of good things on his list as well for us to indeed get to. A couple people are saying, look, on Tiger, and I think I made this point that he has said the right stuff before, and I did say that. That's all he can do right now. So I have no problem with the statement. I thought the statement was serious and said what needed to be said. But ultimately, as anybody knows, whether the person is famous or not so famous, the words are cheap. The words might be a start, but the words pale in comparison to the activity, the action, what you're able to do over a period of time, following through on what you say is your intent. Intent is wonderful at a time like this, but it ultimately, Tiger, like anybody else, whether they're as famous as him or less famous, more likely, will be on the consistency of approach and whether he is able to keep himself in a position where there is not a repeat of what we've had, in his case, repeated way, way too many times before. Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line is open at 64686. If you have anything to do with Kessie or for Kessie, please do not hesitate to email I should say in this case, text the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. And we'll cover, as I said, a lot of ground. Some of it might even be controversial. There's one subject not on his list that I do want to get to that I wouldn't call it controversial, but I think it's worth pursuing and discussing. I think it raises a lot of really fascinating and important questions, even if it's related to a very sobering series of stories. That's Special K, Pat Kessler, right around the corner here in the Fan.
I wish the American media would take a great look at the views of the people in Congress and find out, are they pro-America or anti-America?
Pat Kessler. Because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
I can't trust Obama.
Has no shame.
Pat Kessler.
Tear down this wall.
He's pudgy.
At the Minneapolis airport.
Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
Pat Kessler.
Know it all.
Now, to help Dan break down all the tough questions in politics, it's our own
Pat Kessler.
Public drunkenness.
Wonk.
I feel like a supermodel, except like times 10.
Was it Kurt
It's
Bills?
Channel 4's
Pat Kessler.
with Dan Barreiro on the Fan.
All right, looks like we're 3 minutes and change from the launch countdown. I've rarely seen Kessler with this much of a bounce in his step. I think you're living on, right? You're drunk on nostalgia right now because you are thinking back, hearkening back to many, many decades ago when actually almost any rocket launch to the moon, towards the moon, whatever, was a big deal in this country. Not so much more recently, and yet here we are on the brink of everybody's saying a new phase when it comes to interstellar exploration, mission to the moon, Artemis 2 launch. Your thoughts?
Well, honestly, some of my excitement is from the ketamine, but that's something completely different.
That's a different subject we can explore.
Yes.
Chris Hockey will enjoy that sounder. Thank you.
That's true.
This is a remarkable achievement. I think this is one of the few events in which the entire country
seems invested,
is unified. You know, we have all of this stuff going on all around us every day, a fire hose of bad news and chaos and violence and war.
disagreement.
And disagreement. And look at this. This is really amazing. The Artemis program is taking us back to the moon. And this is a remarkable journey of this particular space mission. You're right. They're not going to land on the moon, but they're going to do something extremely important. They are going to slingshot to the moon. It takes about 4 days to get there. I mean, it's 250,000 miles away. They are going to circle the moon and come back. But here's the thing. They are going to be the first human eyes to look at the dark side of the moon.
Thank you, Pink Floyd.
I love it.
You just love saying
the acid kicks in when the lion roars. Look it up, kids. Here's the thing. It's sunlight when they're going to be there on the dark side of the moon. So no one has ever seen it. They're going to help map it. They're going to be talking about and planning moon colonies, possible mining of moon minerals. Some of the stuff is incredibly important to the United States. So this is the next step in landing on the moon, setting up a moon colony similar to the space shuttle. I think this is about as cool as it gets. And there is a direct line back to 1968 as we're watching the countdown here. And you can narrate
30 seconds. Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, you're going to narrate it when it gets to 10, 9, 8,
Probably going to have to. Yeah, we're getting close right now.
So, yeah, this is very much like the Apollo mission to the moon, Apollo 8 in 1968. I'm going to hold off here while we watch this.
Oh, we're down to it. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5,
rockets
4,
firing.
3, 2,
we have
1.
launch.
Ignition. Oh, there is the ignition.
We have liftoff. Unbelievable.
Have we cleared the tower? That's what I want to see.
We always want to know that. This is so cool.
This is a shot from like down below. Let's see. Oh, that's powerful. Here it goes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful blue sky. A couple clouds, but not enough to make a difference. A slight breeze. Look at that mother. That thing's going.
Ascending by the United States flag into space.
Into space. And this is a 10-day mission, did you say?
This is a 10-day mission. There are 4 astronauts in a space capsule, the Orion capsule, that is about the size of 2 minivans.
So that's a hell of a lot bigger than the capsules we grew up with from the 60s, correct?
Capsules, yes.
Exactly it.
And this is where they will conduct experiments. The most important thing they are going to do here, listening to a New York Times reporter, their space reporter describing this, look at how beautiful that is as they enter.
What was that shot from? Was that that was an interesting shot there.
Yeah.
By the way, Randy Kay didn't hitch a ride on that. She was filing reports.
How about that?
Did she get on there at the last minute?
She's got to.
Yeah, that'd be
Think about this.
That'd be a good gig if you could get it for any reporter.
The New York Times reporter, as I'm listening to him today, is saying the most important thing for them to do is stay alive.
Yes.
They are testing new spacesuits.
Really?
For the Artemis mission on the moon. They're testing these to see all the body. It's hooked up to all the bodily functions, your breathing, your heart. That is so beautiful. That is many, many miles in space right now.
My hands are sweating just looking at these like long distance shots.
What's hard is, these are different shots than we've had before.
Yeah.
So it's hard to even know how to evaluate them, right? Or what to say exactly how this thing is going. And they call this not the largest the largest engine, but the most powerful rocket, most powerful rocket.
It's bigger than any of those rockets on the Apollo.
Yes.
There's the separation right there, the separation of the rockets now.
Okay, that's good. That's a good sign.
And they are
so far so good.
Plummeting
we think.
to Earth, and it looks like they are gently coming back to Earth. They're not crashing into Earth. So yeah, that's a really good thing. So in any event, they are testing the life support systems, these astronauts, of these spacesuits, these bright orange spacesuits that we saw.
What are so special about them?
They are modern spacesuits, unlike the ones with Apollo, unlike the ones that you were in outer space,
Right.
and the spacewalks off the space shuttle. These have 144 hours of life support.
Oh, wow.
And so we'll see. And they want to see if they can test under all these different conditions. But this is the same kind of mission that we prepared for the moon landing back in 1968, when our country was so divided, when Martin Luther King was murdered, and then Bobby Kennedy Jr.
Same summer, yeah. Or same
When we
stretch
had
of
the
time.
Chicago
Democratic Convention,
violence
yeah.
there. The war.
The whole world's watching.
Terrible, terrible war going on. We were losing. Think about it. We're upset about, and we should be, all the people dying right now in Iran. There were 400 to 600 people dying every single week in Vietnam. So what I'm saying is we were extremely divided back then. The astronauts circled the moon, and that very famous picture, that iconic shot that we've all seen of the Earth from the moon rising, the Earth rising.
How fast are we going right now? There's a bunch of numbers on the screen. Can you tell? What's our velocity right now?
I can't tell, but it's got 40,000 miles an hour.
So
20,000.
Is it fair to say, even with all of the iterations of the program and all the changes and all the adjustments and presumably all of the improvements technologically, that the 4 astronauts in that Winnebago-sized capsule have to have the same quote-unquote right stuff that the original Mercury astronauts did as well? It's all, no matter how much the technology changes, the individuals involved still have to have what they call in the business the right stuff.
And the reason they call it the right stuff is that back in the day, this was not all controlled on Earth. This was controlled, particularly if something went wrong, in the space capsule.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
These are test pilots who had to use duct tape and bubble gum to fix anything that went wrong. So this is, but still, this is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It is said, and I believe it to be true, because I read it on the internet, it is said that our phones, our Apple phones, our iPhones, contain the same computing power and more than the rocket ships and the space capsules of the Apollo. So, yeah, this was a pretty cool thing. They went around the moon on Christmas Eve, and the astronauts broadcast a message back to Earth. They read from the book of Genesis.
I remember that, yeah.
And people were so taken by that and so moved by that because we're looking at the Earth from the moon and reading from Genesis, and God created Earth and saw that it was good. So it was pretty cool, really cool, and that unified us, as I hope something like this unifies us now.
I just got a picture from a college friend that lives in Tampa, and you could see the chemtrail clear as day.
Yeah.
From Tampa?
From Tampa. You could see it in the sky.
Oh, my God.
That's impressive.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The famous line, one small step for man, a giant leap for mankind. That was when we landed on the moon, right?
That is.
And I think we've talked about this before.
Neil Armstrong.
Wasn't the line blown? I think the line was supposed to be one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. Now, some people say he actually says it just depends on the
Much
audio
controversy.
quality. Yes.
Yes, there was perhaps a glitch in the transmission of the broadcast from stepping onto the moon. But think about this, 1968. I mean, we don't know what's going on.
No.
This is a tin can on a big rocket that's going to the moon.
Let's go back further. I mean, I can remember the Mercury, series, the Mercury program, which predated the Apollo, when we were just trying to get out of the atmosphere, right?
Yeah,
and trying to catch up with the Russians a little bit. What I do remember was the degree to which everybody did pay attention to it. And I can even remember a time where a neighbor was supposed to drive his kid and me to grade school. I want to say Daniel Webster Elementary, Gary, Indiana. And she's saying, kids, we might be late. I want to see the rocket leave the ground. It was that old deal of we're all in this, and I got to be sure that the damn thing gets going. And once I see it gets going, then we could leave. We were all invested in it in a way. And then for many years, as you know, we kind of, because it went so well, we tended to lose interest. It wasn't that big a deal until we had a couple of tragedies, unfortunately, and that's what got people paying more attention to it.
Well, I do remember as a kid when the teachers would actually stop classroom learning, roll in a television so you could watch the launch.
What was that?
That is you're looking at
was that a visualization?
They're just showing us.
Okay, I thought I was going to say that was pretty good if that was the real thing, but it's not.
Yeah, so we didn't know back in those days whether the human in the capsule would survive. We didn't know if the gravity would kill them and crush them.
Right.
We did not know if our feeble human oxygen tanks would keep them alive or if they would fail. So when these astronauts went into space, particularly John Glenn, who orbited the Earth and returned alive, was the big headline on that. So it's a much different thing now. You're right. Americans kind of lost interest after the moon landing, and we were there a couple of times, and NASA was defunded over the years. Why are we spending money for this?
Yeah.
And to our credit, and to the administration's credit now and before this, we have kept NASA alive for things like this.
252 guy, where's 252 area code? Will you check that out?
That's a good question.
Brett Blakemore? Because 252 guy writes, Dan, I'm standing in my backyard and can see the spaceship going over.
That's so cool.
Is he playing with us, or is that true?
Well,
I want to believe
if you're in Florida, where's 252?
Northeastern North Carolina is where Greenville.
Well, that's possible. That is possible.
Yeah.
That is possible. You can see from there. So that's
impressive.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That'd be
252 guy. Thank you.
This is from Dan, Minnesota. Springsteen. Artemis launch was clean. Kessie on ketamine. Wolves and 5. So you had to do some changing to pronunciation, but I thought it was
not too bad.
Very well played. So is it fair to say so far all indications are good?
It's good.
We have no signs of any difficulty.
All is a go
at this point.
Right now.
Now somebody's taking exception with your math. Let me see if I can find it.
Well, good. Fine. I accept whatever it is.
Kessler just said they're probably going 20,000 miles per hour. The moon is 240,000 miles away, so they'll be there in 12 hours. He said 4 days. PST nominee, according to Brad from Minneapolis. He's nominating you for PST.
Let me think about this. Once they escape the Earth's atmosphere,
right?
How fast do they go?
I have no idea.
That's the question.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought you were asking me what is the speed of them
at that
rocketing out of the atmosphere.
Was my question, yes.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know what it is. I was trying to read some of the scribblings on these computer graphics here, but who knows?
Yeah, that could very well be. So the president he's speaking to the nation tonight. Is it 8 o'clock Central or 9 o'clock Central?
That'll be 8 o'clock Central.
8 Central.
Yes, sir. About
the war in Iran. I'm assuming this might come up a little bit. Maybe not. I don't know. So we're getting more and more indication that he's saying 2 to 3 weeks we're going to be done. And you want the Strait of Hormuz open, Europe? Open it up. It's not our problem. So what do we think? What's the early line on what the president's tack is going to be tonight?
This is all very unsettling.
Yes.
The president will address the nation tonight on Iran. So the big question is, will he just declare victory and leave? Or will he deploy troops on the ground for whatever reason? And in my view, either one of these is probably not that good. Either one of these is bad. We've gone into a country, a war of our own choice, without consulting our allies or the American people, and many, many hundreds and thousands of people are dead in Iran, and including many people, about 12 service members here. So this is not a good outcome. If the president, who has been going back, I have to take my eyes off that so I can actually talk about Iran. I'm watching this. Moon
it's hard not to. It's very distracting.
It's
now they're bringing out the models. They got their little rocket models they're bringing out too.
Wouldn't you love to have one of those?
I guess. I don't know. I mean, I was thinking that looks kind of too retro for me, I'm thinking. But
well, here's the thing that the president is going to speak tonight, and I'm very anxious to see what he actually says. He has had many different reasons for going to war. He has been angry with the allies for not helping him once the war started. He is now saying that I don't need a deal with Iran after 4 weeks of saying they're begging for a deal. We'll make a deal. We're dealing with good people. Now he says I don't need a deal. He has been very angry because the allies are not helping him keep open the Strait of Hormuz. Now he says, I'll just walk away. I don't care. It's your problem now. Go get your oil yourself.
And I might leave NATO.
And now that's a big thing tonight. We are hearing that he is going to criticize NATO heavily and pull the United States out of it. That's the big question. So I think all of this is unsettling to me and to America, I think. I think that possibly this is unsafe. I feel like there is an unstable nature to everything about this war. It's been erratic. I think the president's messages have been untethered, even though I think this can also be true. Good. We got rid of the murderous regime.
Right. You can applaud that.
But we haven't changed the regime.
Yeah.
Even though he says we have.
Bolton is among those who believe it might actually be even more entrenched in that same approach, even more hardline than what came before. Because for a while, what do we keep hearing? There's going to be a code. There's going to be a moment where it's going to be, all right, okay, citizenry of Iran, it's okay for you to come out. Well, that obviously is false. There's not going to be any such day.
Go take your government back.
Go take your government back. So that's the concern is at the end, there's no applauding on my part for this regime in any way, shape, or form.
Terrible.
But you're back to
massacre.
Are you in a better place now than you were before?
Well,
now, maybe in terms of nuclear you are, but beyond that, based on how far we've gone, and we don't even know that either.
So that there is no regime change. The leaders, in fact, have changed, but they might be more hardcore than the previous ones. The nuclear issue, the president said that we're going to get all the nuclear material out. I think they're going to walk away from it. Was there an imminent threat? I think there's growing evidence that there was no imminent threat. So what have we accomplished? Or as the Rolling Stones said at Altamont, why are we fighting and what for?
Let's get to some, what time? We have some time to do it. Let's get to some local stuff that was on your list as well. I don't know exactly what to make of this. So the outgoing former mayor of St. Paul, Melvin Carter, there's discussion now about a decision he made to pay out a bunch of big bonuses right before he left office. What's this all about? And who's mad about it? Everybody?
Well, I think everybody should be concerned about this for sure.
Maybe they deserve the bonuses.
Well, I shouldn't argue that they don't. I mean, this is hey, you did such a great job. Here's some money for you. What has happened is that the former mayor has, right before he left office, literally days before he left office, he awarded his staff, thanks for all the good work you did, bonuses. And some of them are thousands and thousands of dollars. Their walkaway pay includes unused sick time, vacation time, and paid leave time. Here's the catch with the vacation time. The Mayor Carter's administration ended on January 2nd.
Right.
But he gave them they're all entitled to a year's full of vacation time.
For 2026?
That is correct.
How is that possible?
That's the rule. They were in office on January 6th. You get your full vacation on January 1st.
I see.
So, all of this just doesn't pass the smell test. Additionally, he's using money out of the new mayor's budget for this year. So what is she supposed to do? Mayor Herr has got this. So I think this is unusual. I think that you could have valid criticism that this should absolutely not happen. This happened without transparency. You might even say in the dark of night that all of these bonuses are offered and given. And these are the highest paid people in the administration. So far,
since these stories have surfaced, I assume people are trying to reach, to talk to the former mayor and say, okay, what's your response to all this? Has he given any yet?
Yeah, the Star Tribune has reported, was the one who broke the story. And the Star Tribune reports that this is not abnormal. This is a normal thing that they do. My staff worked very hard, and this is a way of rewarding them. This has been a very tough couple of administrations. And, everybody's got that, including everybody in Minnesota, where we went from COVID to George Floyd to murders to carjackings to all sorts of things that happened. So we've all been through this. But I don't know. I didn't get a bonus. Now, I don't know how it is here at iHeart, but I lost my sick time every year at the end of the year, and I lost my vacation time. Cannot accrue it. And so it doesn't roll over into the next year. So I'm not going to say I was resentful of people who could do that. But it was a housekeeping nightmare because everybody would take their vacations in December, Well,
I'm confused. So all paid 2026 vacation days, even though they left office Jan 2. You're saying as if they're getting vacation days for an entire year that they're not working?
That is correct.
Yeah, that seems
because in many companies, I think including mine,
right.
We had to accrue them previously, and that's probably the reason that they do it. I know insurance, I had to wait 90 days before I got insurance before I was vested in that because you have to add up the days and accrue the time. So this is so that is exactly what the Star Tribune is reporting, and I thought it was a pretty good story that they figured this out.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what kind of
you can't do it. What are you going to do?
Well, the sad thing is, I'm looking at the number you have. Total is more than $250,000.
Look here. Here we go.
That almost seems, again, it's sad because that's not a small amount of money, but it feels like kind of tip money compared to any of our feeding our future and autism fraud. You have $250,000. Well, that's nothing.
Well, the mayor's office has a bunch of money. Well, how do I say this? I'm not going to say this is corruption.
Right.
I'm just going to say it's
worth questioning.
Absolutely.
Let's
this
ask some
doesn't
questions.
Pass the smell test.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So it was $277,000, and there's $96,000 of that went out in performances bonuses for just a handful of his top aides. So think about that, $100,000 in bonuses. Man, I'd love to have had that. Of course, I didn't deserve them. But
were they all that? I mean, did they all deserve them? That'd be one of my other questions.
Well, if he says you do, you do.
That's the mayor.
That's, you helped me a lot, and here's a sign of my appreciation.
All right, let's get a pause.
No like.
We've got another local story to get to and a couple of others and some text to respond to as well. Kessler is in the house back after a brief top of the 6 o'clock hour pod.
Every game is a big game when it's Wild hockey. You can feel the intensity, the excitement at Grand Casino Arena this season. Get your tickets today, wild.com/tickets, wild.com/tickets.
Let's get to we'll get to another local story in just a second, and we'll continue to monitor what's going on in the Artemis II launch, which is it's off.
Very cool.
On its way, and it's going to go around the Earth twice, and then it's a slingshot.
Slingshot,
to the moon,
baby.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So in the break, I looked it up. So it is 17,000 miles as it exits
per hour
the Earth's atmosphere, 17,000 miles per hour, and then 24,000 miles an hour to the moon.
To the moon.
Once it gets into zero gravity out there, that's
pretty fast.
Pretty amazing.
What kind of turbulence? On the way up. Is the turbulence bad?
Yeah, terrible. I mean, the G-force
is that why they got to test everybody to make sure they can handle any of that nonsense?
The G-force is like a Tesla, the nice Tesla 0 to 60.
Really?
I got a buddy. I couldn't believe it. You get on an old country road and you just hit the accelerator and 0 to 80, boom. So the G-force of this, your face smells. Shoes. It's worse coming back in, including the extreme heat. But yeah,
let me ask you a question. This is not on your list. I mentioned it on the show. No, but it's one I think you'll appreciate and might even have some thoughts on. I want to talk about the issue of, I'll classify it as erasure. And in this case, I have not talked in much detail about it on the show. The New York Times, it was either a week or two ago, had a frightening story, great reporting in it, on allegations that it had confirmed in a number of cases involving the labor giant Cesar Chavez. And the allegations, they ended up quoting at least two, maybe more, of victims. And the issue in this case, these were girls as well, not necessarily always women from an age standpoint, who got caught up in his vortex, were afraid to say anything about the things that they claim he was doing to them for all the obvious reasons. Cesar Chavez was a giant, walking literally with RFK, with so many others, and galvanizing an entire labor movement in California, right? So the allegations are serious, in-depth. The reporting is very, very significant. The question on the table for me is the erasure question. Like in some locations, within minutes of this story dropping, we're whitewashing stairs that have his name leading up to whatever monument or salute, whatever ways that we were saluting this individual. And what I'm asking you is, how fast are we obligated to go? What is it? Is this enough to say we have to eliminate him from our memory? Because what strikes me is I feel like we move so fast that it's like we're embarrassed that we ever saluted him. And my comeback to that would be, well, we saluted him on the basis of what we thought we knew about his historic place in the movement. It wasn't like, you know what, there's all kinds of bad things about him, we're still going to salute him. It's not like, so why is it good? Maybe you think it's good. I don't even know what the answer is. I grapple with this, that within minutes of not any court cases, because that's probably impractical at this point anyway, but a story appearing, we're doing everything we can to pretend that this individual didn't exist. Is that the right approach? Is it healthy? Is it working at Mach speed a little bit too fast? I don't know what the answer is, but I'm asking.
It's a really good question, because this investigation by the New York Times, and another reason why we need independent news organizations, this investigation took 10 years. They never let go of the thread. They kept pulling on the thread, trying to find out allegations that they first got 10 years ago. And the allegations are extremely serious. The allegations of Cesar Chavez is that he not only raped people around him, forcibly assaulted them, but many of them were young girls, 13, 14 years old, and kept them in his orbit much the same way as Jeffrey Epstein did. So I understand what you're saying, that the people who are bringing the allegations now, who are coming public, have evidence, and if you haven't read it, people, it's worth a read. The New York Times investigation into Cesar Chavez. It's pretty buttoned up, but you're right. There is no court case that says yes, he was guilty, and therefore he should be sentenced, and this is what he's doing. But this is so far beyond his image, that people are moving very quickly. I understand how uncomfortable that might make someone, but we in this state are doing the same thing.
I noticed that. I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
We have Cesar Chavez Boulevard.
We have a day, Boulevard.
We have
okay.
a day. We have a day,
okay.
And now it is not the day. It is now, I believe that Governor Walz changed it to Farm Workers Day. The people he represented in the unions. He was a great union leader organizing this. We have Cinco de Mayo, where Cesar Chavez area down on the west side of St. Paul. All of this is happening. They're moving so quickly because the evidence appears to be incontrovertible. Mm-hmm. So why aren't we doing this?
Awful.
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
And the people who are making the allegations are still alive. So how does this differ from Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah, I don't know how you do it. I don't know if it matters whether it's the first day or 2 weeks later, whatever. But it's just
slave-owning founding fathers.
Right.
I mean, so these are issues that we've never really had to think about and grapple with in this country. I'd say it's better to err on the side that we're going with Cesar Chavez than not. But I agree. We're moving quick.
Part of what I'm saying is, in my view, whether you erase the monument today or in 3 weeks, if there are actually people who say, it's been 3 weeks and you haven't erased it, I'm saying, what's that difference accomplish? We're just getting this information. None of it is good. It's all absolutely terrible. But I'll say again, the saluting that was done with him had nothing to do with this because there wasn't knowledge of what he was doing. Now, part of the story indicates there may have been more knowledge at the time of what he was doing, but that gets back into cover-up. That gets back into, well, the cause is too important. We cannot expose him to whatever. That's another whole series of stories that I'd like to see written at some point if they haven't already. But I don't know if the notion is if you wait 3 weeks, you're enabling this monster. And I'm saying that happened a long time ago. That's a distinction that I don't think is anything more than performative to me.
So I would ask then rhetorically, what is the proper time?
Right.
Is it now? Is it 3 weeks from now? Is it 6 months from now? We have completely different moral values, stances today and responses to them than we did in the 1960s and the 1970s. And things are just much, much different. So immediately you distance yourself until you know more. But I get. But I think we know more. I can't get my hands around what you're asking, and that is it fair to do this without any adjudication of this of any kind? And I don't know the answer.
And then again, adjudication is probably not even possible at this point,
be,
right?
But I'd rather do this under these circumstances than ignore it.
All right, real quick, tell me about, we've got a DWI-related story involving a state rep, correct?
Well, I certainly don't have enough time to talk about that. Holy Hannah. That is, that's a pretty interesting one. We have a state representative, Elliot Engen, who is running for state auditor. And he's a Republican who is running for state auditor, and he was arrested in White Bear Lake, I believe, at 2:00 in the morning, pulled over, blew a 1.142, had a busted headlight, expired plates, and was speeding. So when you drink, don't do that. What makes this a little bit different, what makes this a doozy of a political story, is that he was captured in photos day drinking at a local bar around the Capitol, watching the Twins game, something that I do a lot, day drink and watch the Twins, and then went back to the Capitol, participated in a session and voted, and then went off and drank some more. What makes it even more interesting is that he was accompanied in the car by Representative Walter Hudson, who had a handgun stuffed in his waistband, so he had a permit to carry, no doubt about it. Had a permit to carry. He was not, he did not submit it, nor was he asked to submit to blood alcohol or a blow, a breathalyzer. So it is against the law to be drinking and have above 0.04. So, there's so much here. There was a bottle of liquor in the child car seat in the back, and there was a mysterious third person in the car, and we don't know who that was.
Is he still, do we have any resolution on whether he intends to still continue to run for auditor?
Well, he, to his credit, he apologized, and Representative Hudson, I thought, gave a tremendous apology, if that's the right word for it. Gave a heartfelt apology, and I thought very directly said, this is my fault, I messed up. I've always thought about what I would do. Sometimes people do dumb things, and this is one of them. And he asked for forgiveness. Engen also gave what I thought was a pretty good apology. The twist here is that when he first ran for state auditor, in his launch video of the campaign, he includes the Democratic candidate running for auditor with his mug shot from a DWI. So we got two auditor guys.
So dueling DWIs at this point.
So I don't know, man.
It's a crazy world.
I don't even know what to think anymore.
Yeah.
You apologize, get the help you need, for sure.
Yeah.
And then carry on. So we got to give people grace, but sometimes it's harder than others.
Are you okay with the judge allowing Tiger Woods to get treatment outside the United States of America? Would someone not as famous as Tiger Woods be afforded that same opportunity?
It's a really interesting question. I don't know why he can't go to Hazelden here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the best in the world.
Well, the comeback, of course, is publicity.
Yeah,
he needs to get away. But I don't know if he ever gets. How does Tiger get away?
I mean, again, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
I don't oppose that. If you're going to go to a place and get help, good for you. Good for you to be self-aware and figure it out, and then come on back and begin a recovery. Absolutely.
On that point, we're going to let you go. And hopefully chat next week is the plan. And then you're going to go. My sense of you tonight is you're going to be going home and watching a lot.
I will.
Of this
I've been
coverage
watching all
of.
I'll watch the Springsteen videos from last night.
Right.
Watch all of that.
A little disappointed you didn't go.
Well, I took the kids to the Melania movie. Is where I went.
That's a choice.
So
it's a great thing about America.
You can make your choice,
you can do
and
whatever
that's
you want
my
to do.
choice,
Yeah.
and then you can come back at me.
Yeah, that's it.
Like that. So Melania movie was awesome. So that's where I went instead of Springsteen.
All right. Well, you've seen him before, though, right?
I have tremendous FOMO that I missed this show. That I missed this last night's show.
Yeah.
This one in particular, which may have been the greatest Springsteen show of all time. Yeah, I deeply regret, and I have many regrets in my life.
Yeah, we all do.
This is the biggest.
That's the biggest of all? Wow.
Well,
that's
maybe.
Massive.
For now.
Maybe one of them.
For now.
For recency bias says
yes.
Enjoy the sleep tonight, please.
Yes.
It's coming.
It's going to be great. I cannot wait. What a winter. I think this is the worst winter we've ever had.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
You know what? If you don't like it here, move.
Why don't you move?
Yeah,
we like
leave.
it here.
We do like it here.
We like it
You don't. That's your problem. And you're not one of us any more than I am.
So I know. So what can I say?
Thanks, Kessler.
All right, man.
We'll come back, wrap things up next.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
It's brought to you by American Pressure.
Very fast-paced program today, including two outstanding in-studio guests. Kessler just left us, and at about 3:15, the redoubtable Aaron Gleeman was in studio. And if you roll your eyes and say, what do I want to listen to a segment or segments about the Twins? Well, we actually talked about lots more than just the Twins. We did cover, I think, some salient Twins subjects, because we've not had Aaron on in a while. And we eventually even talked to a little National Basketball Association as well, but plenty on ball strike, appeal, very esoteric. We got very deep into some baseball pitching philosophy on the return of the splitter, the split-fingered fastball, which is back in vogue after being out of vogue, and then before that it was in vogue. Everything, that cliche about everything it comes back eventually. That includes the split-fingered fastball as a powerful pitch in many pitchers' arsenal. Maybe not so much for the Minnesota Twins. So that was 3:15. We went all the way close to 4:30. So an extended visit with Gleeman on a number of subjects. Tomorrow is going to be a good day too, I think, in that we've got Andy Luger as an in-studio guest, and he's telling me he's bearing gifts, and we might, for a bit of a switch, talk a lot of toy department stuff with him as well, in addition to some more A-section issues. I think he's at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Seifert is tomorrow as well I think the owners' meetings are still going. I'm not sure, but he's been there with them or for them. And then we expect a visit from the arena formerly known as the X with Russo Radio. Wild Back in action tomorrow night, so we're hoping to get Russo. Probably, I'm guessing, he will be at 5 o'clock. So a very good guest lineup tomorrow. Guardsy out again tomorrow, and then I think he's back with me on Friday as well. There's some bitterness, you were going to say?
I was going to say, I think Garzy's back Monday.
Oh, he's off Friday, too?
That's my understanding, yes.
Well, then that's a change. I think he's changed it from what he had told me a day ago. So, okay, well, it's fast moving.
Yeah.
In any case, there's some people bitter that we're not talking about Gopher men's basketball tonight. They are playing in whatever that tournament is. Is it called the Crown in Vegas?
I think so, yeah.
I'm not begrudging the program's the decision to participate. I get why they might want to participate. I just refuse to believe that, if I'm being honest with my audience, that it has any real significance beyond potentially a little bit of cash. We're back to, if they play at the tournament, you're obligated to make a big deal of it. Not on this show. They can play it. They can have their own reasons for playing it, but come on, man. There's just not that much there at all. So knock yourselves out. If you're interested in it and want to listen to it and want to watch it, that's all good. I'm not here to complain, but I think we got to be honest about the consolation to the consolation tournament of college basketball at this point. I am a little surprised that Kessler apparently wasn't going to watch tonight. It sounds like he's going to be back watching the Mission to the Moon, the Artemis II launch, as well. And don't text me anymore with, well, this particular ship will not be landing on the moon. We know that. The larger issue is it's called Mission to the Moon because that's where they're going, and then it's going to start a series of launches that will presumably end, if it goes well, with us back on the moon as well. Fan on Demand in the air tonight?
Fan on Demand, Wild Weekly. It's my understanding that Gopher game will be on the Fan later tonight. So at like 9.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. We might as well. Yeah, I wouldn't know why we wouldn't.
But yes, FOD, Wild Weekly, Gopher basketball.
All that makes sense to me. And then we'll be back at headquarters here tomorrow discussing the sleet that's supposed to fall overnight. I don't know what it's going to end up being. Rain, snow, sleet, sludge. We'll see. I have absolutely no idea. But our plan is to get in here tomorrow, and Blakemore pledges he will as well. We'll talk to you at 3 o'clock.